Hello and welcome to episode 27 of Long Shots, our weekly podcast. I would like to wish all our listeners a happy Holi, especially Mr. Anil Ambani. What do you say, Sharad?
Why is that? Because he got get out of jail free card?
Yes, he got a get out of jail free card. Exactly. That's how this week started for him. Big Brother was watching and Big Brother saved him.
Yeah, it's a really funny story. It'll be very interesting to see the corporate side of it, but from a family drama perspective, it's got all the makings of the next Ram Gopal Verma movie.
Yes, and on that note, we can kick off this week's episode. And friendly reminder to all our listeners, do check us out on a plethora of podcast apps out there, be it iTunes, Deezer, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Search for Long Shots. Hit subscribe so that you get that nice little notification every time we go live. And with that formality behind us, let's kick off. So we are going to start with your favorite pastime. Is that correct?
It's certainly not. I've never played it, but we're talking about PUBG.
Yes, that's the topic today. PUBG Mobile, I think, to be more specific, right?
Have you ever played it?
No, man. I mean, I think the last game I ever played was Counter-Strike.
Yeah, likewise. In that arena.
Yeah, so I think we are from a different generation that ways. I used to play Unreal Tournament quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I think that phase lasted for a couple of months. Then CS started, and then I realized that I need to branch out of it very quickly. Otherwise, it's way too addictive.
Yeah, it's good you're not playing PUBG and you're not in Gujarat because there was a realistic chance of you getting arrested.
Yeah, I heard that from you for the first time. I actually did not know that there is a official line against PUBG in any part of the country, but apparently there is.
Yeah, like there's some things are just confusing. Some things are weird. In my view, this is just absolute rubbish.
So first things first. I mean, before we go, so I guess PUBG is a incredibly popular game, online game, I guess. Both on mobile as well as on PlayStation, Xbox, various gaming consoles. I'm not sure whether I think it's a free to play game or maybe not. I'm not sure about that, but I won't risk making a comment on it because that would demonstrate how out of date I am with this particular topic. But I guess it's a very popular gaming franchise still, right?
Yeah, no, even I'm not entirely sure about the numbers, let's say. But yes, I'm fairly convinced that it is one of the biggest games right now being played.
Correct.
It's obviously, like you said, it's on cross-platforms ranging from PlayStations and Xboxes too. But there's a mobile version as well, which has got a lot of traction.
Right.
It's I don't want to use the word controversial, but it's come under the limelight. I think even Prime Minister Narendra Modi made a comment once when someone asked him about PUBG, and he sort of made a very diplomatic comment saying like, you got to... Technology comes with its downsides, and you got to be focused and things like that. But it's addictive, highly addictive,
right?
And there's subtle layers of violence in the game, which I think is common to a lot of games, ranging from speed racing or whatever it is, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean that's what it is.
Oh yeah, sorry. Just to kind of close the loop on that earlier conversation. PUBG is a premium game, so you need to pay to actually engage in the gameplay, but apparently their mobile version is a free version.
Free version, yeah.
So that operates more on a freemium basis, that to download it and basic gameplay is free of cost. But if you have to get more, skins, upgrades, more weaponry, you need to pay.
Which is the classic trick, right? It's true to a lot of games. I think Fortnite operates like that as well.
Correct.
But yeah, I mean, what's interesting is that why it's in the news or why we're talking about it is that 6 guys were arrested yesterday in Gujarat for playing the game.
Right.
That sounds ridiculous to me. For now.
So this game is officially banned there.
Yeah, in Gujarat, yes. They have said that, I don't know exactly under what legal framework that comes with it.
Let me check that out while you continue, yeah?
Yeah, so I don't know what legal, but apparently these guys, were playing the game and the police inspector came, and apparently the guys were so engrossed in the game they didn't even see him walk in.
Right.
And then the next thing they know, they are in jail for playing PUBG.
They must be college students or something, right?
Yeah, they're young folks. I mean, I don't know. But and you know what? Another interesting thing is
yes, college students. Yeah. There's a Live Mint story which kind of covers this.
Yeah.
Actually, 10 college students.
Oh, was it 10? Okay.
10 college students in Rajkot.
Yeah.
They got arrested. They were booked under the Indian Penal Code IPC 188 and Gujarat Police Act 135, but were immediately granted bail. I have a feeling, let me just scroll down a bit further. Yeah, so it says that IPC 188 is a 1860 vintage law, which says that disobedience to any order promulgated by a public servant is punishable with 1 month imprisonment or some fine.
Okay.
So it's a bailable offense. And the interesting thing is that, like, when you say that disobedience to any order promulgated by a public servant, that seems very heavy-handed.
Yeah, it seems very vague as well.
Yeah. So I mean, like, that means that there's an interesting comment here by an advocate who says that IPC 188 is a minor offense, which is whatever. Section 135 GPA is an offense when you actually disobey an order which are given for prevention of riots or actions that disrupt public peace. It is punishable with 1 year imprisonment and a fine. So this seems to be even more serious than IPC. This seems to be a local Gujarat Police Act ruling.
Yeah.
And wow, man, is PUBG causing riots, causing disruption of public peace? I don't know.
The moment you start, there are just so many things I could say on that, but I'll stay clear of it. With the moment you hear Gujarat and riots in one sentence.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's itself a controversial line. But it kind of shows, how out of date these laws are with the digital reality. I mean, these are just some, geeky, nerdy college kids who are just, playing something in their rooms, and they have now been arrested for disruption of public order.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And the game the game as such is made by the South Korean company. I think it's called Blue Hole or something.
Right.
And when they were getting in China, the Chinese also had some reservations on that. The violence and sort of narrative of the game doesn't sit with their socialist culture.
Okay.
But then Tencent, which is a Chinese company, they sort of found a way and they became the official publishers of the game in China. And then now it's obviously available in China with some subtle variations or some differences they've done basically. Right. But now Tencent is making some noise saying, like, what is the legal basis of banning a game, an entertainment game in India? And that's very interesting. Like, I've never heard of this in my life, that there is a game and people are arrested for the nature, and it's a normal multiplayer action game. I mean, yes, there are guns in there, but...
And, to be fair, a majority of research which has been done in this area where, they have seen whether violent video games leads to violent behavior, the results have been negative in most cases. I mean, it doesn't. And I guess even if you're too concerned about the content of the game, then, okay, like, you have film certification, have game certification.
Exactly.
Put a age rating on it, right? But I mean, you don't put people in jail. I mean, it just seems so bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, for the lack of a better word.
Yeah, and they've obviously comment saying that it's affecting their studies and it's affecting their mood. Like, affecting their studies is such a weird argument. There are a zillion other things that I can see.
Yeah.
Like some Virat Kohli's cricket playing habits were not good because it was affecting their studies. Does that even make sense?
Right.
Like, world is embracing esports now.
Right.
There are esports tournaments where there's more crowd and more fan following than real sports at times.
Correct.
It's an industry. It's a real media and entertainment industry.
Correct.
And it's just such outdated thinking. But anyway, I can go on about it. But it's bizarre, and I found that very amusing.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it's good that we have stopped. Our gaming years are behind us.
Yeah, I know.
Because, otherwise, who knows, man. But I mean, I think when it comes to video games, I get it. I remember, like, during when I was like 15 years younger. Those were the days when, you remember those early gaming consoles which had come out, like Media, Samurai and all that, whatever, right? And, used to play like Mario or Contra and stuff like that. And maybe even 20 years ago. Yeah. And at that time, I remember, like, parents generally tend to get a bit concerned that why are you spending so much time? But I mean, I think it's an internal parenting issue.
Exactly.
It's not really an issue in which the state needs to intervene. I mean, we had basically fixed times for watching television or fixed times to, entertainment and, fixed time for doing your homework. I mean, as long as you kind of are falling in those buckets, it's fine.
Yeah.
Right? And plus, I mean, only yesterday or 2 days back, I think we were reading about how General Electric and a few other American companies are actually looking for video game skills in the CVs of people who are applying for jobs there, because they kind of equate it to better analytical.
There you go.
I mean, there are so many other things, I mean, I always feel that if you outright ban things, it only leads to more risky behavior.
Agreed.
Rather than, I mean, same goes with, I don't want to say it, but same goes with things like, drugs or marijuana or anything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've said it actually, so.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think I've seen a lot in this context of, especially again, these are all sensitive topics, but in the Indian context, when something's happened, the blame usually goes on something like typical parenting or children or individual problem are often treated as problem of some outside source. For example, if there's a piece of content, that content is really bad, it should not be allowed. No, it's not meant for kids. It's not kids. It has bad impact on kids. Well, then don't let kids watch it.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's your problem. It's not a content problem.
Correct.
And I've seen the same thing with WhatsApp. I mean, that's a sensitive issue. But people talk about fake news and lynching and things like that. That's a people problem. It's not a WhatsApp problem.
Correct.
WhatsApp is just a distributor of information.
Correct.
Tomorrow, if someone starts communicating on email, that doesn't become an email problem. It becomes a person problem.
But I guess, that the thing is that because these platforms have now become so big,
responsibility.
That,
I get that.
There's that entire angle of, if you are a distributor, you should also be accountable for the distribution. But that's a very difficult problem to crack.
Yeah.
Because, if you look at like something like a WhatsApp, which has like 1 billion plus users worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
And one can only imagine the quantum of messages which are exchanged on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And a lot of the content will have like some sort of linguistic nuance. A lot of it would be visual. And now WhatsApp, if it polices it too much, then it becomes a question of who are they to regulate private conversations. But if they don't do anything, then also it's an issue because, that private information spreads like wildfire through the same distribution platform.
Yeah.
But ultimately it's a people problem because I think it's a difficult one to crack because not like, for instance, we know that everything which comes on the internet or on a mobile app is not set in stone.
Yeah, exactly.
We know that there is a kind of process of verification that needs to go through it. But even people like say within our parents' generation often take things which come on WhatsApp on face value. Yeah. Right? Especially if it comes from a peer, especially if it comes from say another relative or a friend, they think, okay, that guy's just forwarding it. Yeah. He's not even like, he's not endorsing it, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But it's the written word. So, I've often, I don't know, like if you have seen that there are often these, messages which have, health tips.
Yeah.
Don't eat eggs or, if you eat too much of red meat, this will happen. And like when I'm at home, like, often, say one of my parents will just show it to me that this is, I'm like, okay, let me find something on it on Google, and then as soon as you Google the same thing, the first thing that comes out is watch out for these fake messages on WhatsApp about this. So now so that way I think on WhatsApp now the fact that they actually mention that messages have been forwarded. I think that's a good step, at least you get some sort, and they have kind of limited the number of forwards. That's also again a step in the right direction.
I guess so, yeah.
But it's a kind of a delicate balance, right?
Yeah. So it is. And I always sort of give the analogy when someone's gets in an accident or does something, when he's drunk driving or she is drunk driving, and people often say, "Oh, alcohol is bad." No, it's the person behind the wheel who's bad.
That was only on this weekend. I remember. I was driving towards Gurgaon, and there was this guy who was just. This was Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So not crowded on the expressway. Everyone was driving at a high speed, and this monkey was just switching lanes like anything, not realizing who's behind him. And then I saw he was texting.
Oh yeah.
While he was driving, and I was like, tomorrow you can't say that ban mobile phones, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You need to put that guy in jail for at least half an hour so that he can get some perspective into things.
Would you jail him more than you would jail the guys playing PUBG?
Oh, I would jail. I would jail him much. He was his activities were hazardous. He could have caused an accident because he was just not seeing who was behind him.
And for his violent behavior to manifest, I wouldn't be surprised if there was no PUBG involvement, right?
Yeah, I don't know. He was texting. If he was playing PUBG mobile while he was driving, then he has had it,
Then it's non-bailable offense.
Yeah, then it's a non-bailable offense.
Anyway,
pretty much.
Spent a good time on this, and it's always amusing to on and off talk about stuff like that, which amuse us. But having said that, let's speak to something that's closer to our core competency, and we've spent
nice way to put it.
we've spent a lot of time on looking at equity markets and fund management and asset management and things like that. And I found it fairly amusing when there was an article, and which was talking about uptake or increasing prominence of index funds or ETF, or let's call it passive management over active management, and how money managers are struggling to beat the market.
Right.
What are your views on it, and active versus passive? I'll give you some numbers here. It says that only 2 out of 190 funds beat Nifty 50 by even 1 percentage point.
Okay.
So that's pretty underwhelming.
Yes.
And AUM of index funds and ETFs is up 61% year over year. Now managing over 1.1 trillion rupees. Right. So clearly there's a shift towards passive, and active managers are not delivering, especially for the fees they charge anyway.
Correct.
So what do you think about that?
I think it's that ever going debate about like efficient market hypothesis, whether it's actually possible to beat the market, right? And I think as soon as you're an active fund manager and you go beyond 20-30 stocks, I don't know how much you can do with that. So I think investing is in investing one needs to be very clear about whether you as a client, whether you have the time to actually monitor how your investments are unraveling, correct? Or even as a fund manager, how actively you are engaged. So you need to be very clear from day one that if you can actually spend a fair bit of time analyzing technicals, analyzing fundamentals of companies, and then picking your stocks or derivatives or any other instrument that you are doing, right? If you don't have the time, nothing like index funds or ETFs, they are the best way to go forward, right? But if you do have the time, or if you do have the intellectual interest to pursue active money managing, again, unless it's a small. I don't want to advise here on this platform.
But let's put that as a disclaimer. We're not experts in advising.
Yeah, we're not advising. This is just my personal view here. That if you are into actively managing your money, either have a very small number of stocks, like 15, 20, and focus on them, have reasonably good positions on them, then it's still possible for you to beat the market. But if you start creating these big diversified multi-cap funds with like 50, 60, 70 companies, might as well take a Nifty 50 index fund.
Exactly, yeah.
Might as well do that.
Yeah, and we've talked about weights and the importance of weights, right? And
correct. And there's a big cost. There's a big cost advantage, right? If you take an index fund or an ETF, at the end of the day, there's no. The entire operational leverage is enhanced phenomenally in that. So for an end user, the cost will be minimal.
Yeah, and we talked about the gentleman, what was his name?
John Bogle.
Vanguard, who recently passed, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and we alluded to that his thinking.
Actually, I think when while we were actually going through this topic, I think I chanced upon a quote from him. Let me find that out.
Yeah,
while we go.
But he's the sort of person who sort of said that, like exactly to what you were saying, that there's cost saving that needs to be built into realized returns, right?
Correct.
Of having an index fund. Did you find the quote?
Yes, I did. So he's saying, an index fund is the most unlikely hero for a typical investor. It is no more nor less than a broadly diversified portfolio, typically run at rock bottom costs without the putative benefit of a brilliant, resourceful and highly skilled portfolio manager. So I think the last one was like a cheeky comment.
Yeah,
right?
Sarcasm all over it. No, but it's true. I've seen in my personal experience as well, I've seen brilliant, so as to speak, money managers and fund managers struggling to beat the market, right?
Correct.
And obviously take exorbitant fees. But it's a tough one. You can't just sit and look at financial statements and put in the calls and understand the industry and still like at the end of the day, there are human emotions who are buying and trading stocks. And like you said, like the efficient market hypothesis, right? Trading is a difficult art. It's not, you always win some, you lose some.
And it's an art.
It's an art, yeah.
I mean that's why I think like someone like Buffett's philosophy, that's where his philosophy fits so well. because I think he has been pushing for this view since day one that, if don't exercise every quote unquote opportunity that you see.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to you don't have to do things all the time. You have to do some minimal things in a good way.
Yeah.
But that's not how Wall Street works, right? I mean, so for instance, if I'm a fund manager and I say that, okay, I'm only going to track 10 companies, right? And I'm going to create a concentrated fund. My investors after some time are going to panic, they're going to say that, oh, come on, I mean, we have to be diversified, why don't we go for more mid caps? Why don't we go for some small caps? I mean, someone who has buffet's luxury of having a huge amount of proprietary capital, can afford to take that very selective call.
Yeah.
But I think a typical Wall Street fund manager is under those, multiple pressures, so as to say. I mean, it's the same thing because investing is a very boring thing, I mean, you put in money and then you just sit on it.
Wait
right?
and watch.
You wait and watch, correct? So I mean, and if you're sitting on Wall Street, I mean, no wonder the kind of noise that's coming in all day long is bound to distract you, right? So and plus you have to meet your quarterly targets.
Yeah, that amuses me. Quarterly numbers can swing so much. How can you judge a performance in one quarter? I feel I remember. I mean, in fact, I think there's some pressure on CEOs that they don't want to report quarterly. Also in North America,
right?
You don't need to report 4 times a year.
Correct.
Just make it. What was it like in UK? Was it twice a year or was it 4 times?
So in UK, the half yearly and full year were extensive results. Quarterly numbers were disclosed, but not like SEC filings.
Okay.
So the quarterly numbers were mostly balance sheet numbers were not disclosed.
Much more mellowed down, right?
It was much more P&L oriented.
Yeah.
So it was lighter disclosure on a quarterly basis.
Yeah. No, I think I agree. 4 times a year is too much. Imagine the CEO and CFO will be spending, if it's coming every 3 months, they're probably spending good 2 weeks on messaging and books and maintaining that. And imagine that, 2 weeks for every. I'm being conservative with 2 weeks per cycle. So that's almost 8 weeks then for 4 quarters.
Correct.
You're spending that much time in might as well just do what the core objective of the company is rather than messaging to the street.
Correct. I mean, I think in US and UK are kind of exceptions where disclosures are fairly extensive and there are very solid transparency norms. I mean, I think in India the problem is on the other end of the spectrum. I think here disclosures are fairly weak.
Yeah.
And I mean, I won't mind here. I won't say more frequent disclosures. I think half yearly disclosures are fine.
Yeah.
But they need to be definitely more robust.
I agree. Yeah.
And in terms of, I mean, in India, the funny thing is that in spite of no pressure from the perspective of disclosures, in spite of fairly relaxed corporate governance norms, I'm sure that thing is changing slowly, but still compared to Western markets, I think here promoters get a lot of leeway, right? In spite of that, the funds are not performing well. Yeah, that's obviously a sign of concern.
Red flag. Yeah.
Oh, so great. Yeah, I mean, it's. I think I was reading another thing that now I think 14% of equity AUMs are now being locked in index and ETFs in India also.
Okay, so that's pretty good.
That's significant, right? So I guess investors are seeing that thing. I mean, I myself in a lot of conversations, because if I look at it from a personal investing perspective, I used to look at mutual funds, but then I realized very quickly that the returns are not really anything exceptional. Yeah. So might as well switch. So yeah, I mean that I think is the norm.
Yeah, Cash has done well. And since we were talking about disclosures and SEC of the West, it's a good time to probably switch gears into Mr. Elon Musk. And
SEC loves him. SEC loves him. Apparently his tweets now have to be approved by 10 people before they're out. And it was funny enough that it was his tweet that caught the eye of the weekend. I think in one of the tweets in response to a question, he said that we are expecting to be in India this year or the next year at the very latest. Was that an approved tweet? I don't know. Twitter should have that feature as well, right? That this tweet has been approved by Tesla's board. Just for his tweets.
Just for his tweets. That'll be pretty funny, actually. Tesla is looking, I remember about was it last year, sometime 12 months back. He made a tweet saying that the regulatory environment is very challenging for them to explore India right now.
Right.
But within less than a year now, he's saying that it's going to happen this year or the next. So obviously, listen, I think we're fairly convinced that India is a market that amuses Tesla and much like a lot of other Western companies. So they, what do you think about Tesla? It'll be an interesting watch when they come in and how they slot into the Indian EV ecosystem, because the government is clearly making some, offering some policy-shaped tailwinds.
Correct. No, I mean absolutely. I think it's a big under-penetrated market here. The thing is that, I mean, with Tesla, I think the key would be their target segment and the product that backs them. Because even if you look at Tesla Model 3, I think I was reading somewhere that it starts at the price of $45,000, and with import duties in India, it will be available for 75 lakhs. So I mean, you are targeting a very niche, high-end luxury segment here. So even if suppose they are able to, if they want to do a mass market play, they would have to move manufacturing production here, I guess. And second concern is obviously, the charging ecosystem. That obviously becomes a factor. I mean, I think someone with Tesla's firepower can set up their own charging networks. But for them to do that, they would have to, I guess, aim for a mass market play, which means that they would have to, get the unit economics right. And to be very honest, like from the policy perspective, I mean, I think recently FAME 2, which is the subsidy scheme of the government, came out. But it is, pretty biased towards commercial vehicles rather than passenger vehicles.
And I noticed that too,
And Musk has, I mean, I think besides the electric truck vehicle, which I think again is a very premium positioned commercial vehicle, probably doesn't have a fit in India. I mean, he has focused exclusively on passenger vehicles, right?
Tesla is pure passenger play, right?
Correct. So I mean, because I mean, as per FAME 2, I think you get like 10,000 rupees per kilowatt hour of subsidy, and there are caps. So I just have opened the FAME 2 document, and for 4-wheelers, maximum incentive you can get from the government is around 1.5 lakhs.
That's pretty healthy.
I mean, but the vehicle price has to be 15 lakhs, not more than that. So I mean, if so for a mass market play in India, I mean, you need to be below 15 lakhs, right? I mean, that's for sure. I mean, even right now, like mid-segment cars, petrol cars are in that price range. So if he can manage to get into that bucket, sure.
That'll be a game changer. Maybe we can see some JVs with, on the charging side. Maybe some JV with charging infrastructure. Because like you said, like without that, it doesn't fly. The model doesn't fly.
I think it flies much more from the charging and battery side of things rather than from the passenger vehicle side of things, right? I mean, the more one thinks about it. Because I mean, that doesn't have to be a captive business. That can be a third-party business, right? So I mean, that is something which everyone wants to do in any case.
Energy as a service.
Correct. Energy as a service. So that is something that, I mean, he just, I think, in China also, he set up a battery factory. I think in
China is the only other country where outside US he set up something.
Exactly. In US, obviously, he has the Gigafactory, which is like one of the biggest shop floors in the world. So if batteries is the future for Tesla, sure. I mean, but if it's going to be a Model 3, then I think there's a lot more work would have to be done.
We should look and watch this space closely. It's an interesting subject because it garners interest from equity analysts to environmental activists to car enthusiasts. Tesla amuses all.
I mean, it's a great corporate story. I mean, great, entertaining in every way. So this is something that people like to look towards. Well, I mean, I think while we continue to track these different angles, I think this is a good way to end today's podcast. What do you say, Sharad? It
was fun talking and different.
Today was slightly different.
It was slightly different, yes. We talked a lot about overall high-level stuff.
Yes.
But it was fun nonetheless.
Yes, it was. And on that note, I would like to remind our listeners again to feel free to rate and comment on our podcast so that we can make it better. If you have any suggestions for topics, just drop us a line and we'll be happy to consider them for future episodes. And on that note, thank you so much. Have a happy Holi, everyone. And this is Nikhil.
And this is Sharad.
Signing off.